just want to come to another point here, and you have a shot at motoring journalists, and rightly so. You say they've been captured by the various interests associated with electric vehicles. What about the argument that the motoring journalist writes that Tesla is now our largest selling car? Now, you've made the point that it might be within the category of mid-sized sedans, which no one really buys these days. So Tesla sold 11,000 vehicles. Judith's made all these points. Too smart for all these people, she is. Tesla sold 11,000 vehicles in 2022. That's out of 1.1 million vehicles sold. That's 1% of all sales. So we're being fed all this nonsense, and I suppose, Judith, the public believe it.
Yeah, no, look, that was a disgrace. I mean, I guess it just shows you what a cynic I am. But, like, I read this headline that said, Tesla, largest seller of cars in Australia. And I thought, really, that doesn't sound right. And then, you read down and it's like, well, within the category of medium-sized sedans, which no one wants, and they are even outselling the Toyota Camry, which no one wants. So, look, don't get me wrong, I kind of have a bit of admiration for Tesla in a way, but I think that...
Yeah, but it's not... Australia's a big country. It's not practical. I'll come to that in a minute. I'll come to that in a moment about the impracticality of all this in Australia and charging stations and so on. But Matthew Keane, I want to clear this one up with you. He says electric vehicles will be 50% of new car sales by 2050. Professor Judith Sloan, what do you say to that?
Well, it won't happen at all. And I mean, he's just trying to talk his political book, isn't he? I mean, think about when cars started to become common. Do you think the government bought or, subsidised petrol stations?
That's right. That's right.
No, I mean, it's a really funny idea, actually.
Yes, it is. But just on these charging stations, I mean, you wrote about this, and some owners were waiting up to 90 minutes, and this emotional argument, it wasn't terrible, it was a hot day, and there were toddlers in the back seat. So off they go with the argument to government. And you just made this point, when we were powering with petrol, they didn't provide any subsidies to the petrol station or whatever. So sure enough, Matthew Keane says they'll build 30,000 new charging stations. What's the government doing building charging stations with our money?
Well, the interesting thing is that we've had a sort of lesson in that from California, because they've gone off.
Yep.
And the government has funded charging stations. But as all these things happen, public, remember public phone booths, at any time in California, about a third of those charging stations are out of order. Because, of course, people don't look after them, right, or I don't know whether they're particularly fault prone, but, it's a real issue there.